of our most important factors when taking a grocery store tour is understanding how to read the nutrition food label. This is going to be your best friend as you go through the grocery store and find those heart-healthy foods. All foods in a grocery store are labeled with a nutrition food label, with the exception of fresh meats and fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables are being labeled for their country of origin, so that's something that you can always keep an eye out for as well. Looking at a basic food label, there are some key components that will help you navigate the health of the food. The most important thing is finding out how many servings per container are in each box of food. If you know you're going to have more than one serving, make sure you do the math and multiply out your calories, fat, and cholesterol to ensure that you're following heart-healthy principles. The first line is calories. Based on a 2,000 calorie diet, we want to make sure we divide those out between our 3 meals. Ideally, we have 650 calories per meal, and by the end of the day, we've followed our parameters. For women, 1,500 to 1,800 calories per day is a reasonable amount of calories for our day, and men, based on activity level and size, can go anywhere from 2,000 to 2,400. Total fat. Again, this is our good and bad fats. Remember, our poly and monounsaturated fats will help bring up our good cholesterol and down our bad. So those are the fats that we're looking for. Our second line is our saturated fat. This is the fat that is going to help, that is going to actually bring up your cholesterol and wants to be avoided. We want to make sure that our saturated fat stays at 7% of our total calories or below for each food that we're eating. Trans fats are something that we want to avoid completely in the diet. This does contribute to our elevated cholesterol levels, and a 0 gram is the only reading you're looking for on the food label. Cholesterol. It's recommended that no more than 250 milligrams of cholesterol are consumed in a day. Sodium, that's a 2,000 milligram goal. Keep it below 2,000 milligrams, and you're adhering to a good, heart-healthy diet for maintaining blood pressure. Total carbohydrate will be based again on your total calories in, but a good diet won't have more than 45 to 60 grams per meal. So make sure you're counting all of your sides and putting it all together. Americans really struggle with their fiber intake. On average, we only consume about 12 grams per day. Our dietary goal is 25 to 35 grams, so we have a ways to go. Always check that fiber line. It helps keeps us full and keeps our GI system in good health. And protein. These are the building blocks of muscles and also help keep us full as well. We're looking for anywhere from 55 to 70 grams of protein per day, even more if you're an athlete. Always check on your protein. It does add extra calories. This is a lot of information for a food label, so I think there's an easier way to take a look. All of our food labels also come with percentages. Now, our rule of thumb is 5% or less is considered a low food. Now, that can mean low fat, but can also mean low fiber. And remember, we're looking to add fiber to our diet. 20% or more is a high food, and that means high fat or high fiber. So you want to make sure you're well balanced throughout the day. If you can run the board on your food label and keep everything between 10 and 15%, you've made a pretty good food choice and should be added to your cart. Anytime you see your total fat closer to that 20%, it's best to be left on the shelf and find a different food to substitute. With this information, then you're fully prepared to start our grocery store tour. Armed with our nutrition food label ability and knowing what we're looking for, now's our time to start the real tour. But before we start out, there's a few key points that I want to make sure you're aware of. Our grocery store dollars need to be spent on this outside ring. When you look at your receipt at the end of the day, hopefully 80% or 80 cents of every dollar you came to the grocery store with is on this outside perimeter. This is where you'll find your freshest and healthiest foods. So be aware, every aisle we move in is one less aisle that you should be spending your dollars in. Now, the next thing I want you to know is that we're going to talk about many different foods. You know, we all have our staple foods that we buy, and many of us know exactly what's missing from our pantries without even looking. Our goal today is to find some new staples, to try different foods, and make you a little bit more heart healthy. Let's go ahead and start it with our produce. As we look, we're going to find a variety of different foods. And you know, there's many things that many of us pick up on a regular day. Carrots, lettuce, these are all staples in our diet if we're starting to follow basic heart health. Let's go ahead and expand that out a little bit. You'll find things such as asparagus, which are going to be very high in nutrients and may even contain a small amount of calcium. Great addition to your diet, and what a potent flavor. Things like avocado. Remember, these are going to be a good source of our good fats, those mono and polyunsaturated fats. This is a better substitution than things like sour cream or other sources of fat. So any way you can incorporate avocado into your diet, it's a great idea. You know, as we go down the road, we're going to find many different varieties of lettuce, and we can get into more colorful foods. We do want to make sure we're coloring our plate. We want to make sure we're using reds, greens, orange, and as we look around in our produce department, there's plenty of those to be found. As we look at our peppers, you're going to find great color. And remember, every pepper is going to have a little bit of a different flavor. You're not going to always have that spicy, what we would think is hot flavor. Our yellow peppers are going to be a sweet pepper, and orange are going to be a bit more mild as well. Be sure you're choosing different kinds of pepper and see if you really do like any of the colors that are available. Again, things like mushrooms are going to be very healthy for us. We can add them into most any dish. They add a lot of texture, they're going to keep us full, and they don't add a lot of calories. A great way to get extra nutrients into our diet. Now we fall into some different areas that people may not use very often at all. This is an eggplant. If you haven't ever purchased one, they work just like a summer squash. You can use them like a zucchini, cut them up and roast them, and they taste great. Again, these are very high in nutrients, they're very low cost, and a great addition to your meals. When we look into all of our different greens, you're going to find we have a greater variety than most of us even know. Things like Napa cabbage, red leaf lettuce, we have collard greens and Swiss chard. All of these are great. You know, you can really change the flavor of a salad. If you're tired of that boring old lettuce salad, it's not filling you up, and you really need a change, stop through, pick up some dandelion or some Swiss chard, add that in, maybe a little kohlrabi, and you're going to find you have a completely different dish. Just as healthy, if not more, than that iceberg lettuce, and yet you're going to really enjoy that flavor. All of these are available at our local grocers. It's just a matter of you going out, seeking them out, and giving them a try. You know, fruits are another area too that we have really not tapped fully into. We have so many different fruits, and they all offer such great flavor. We've actually been able to start hybriding fruits and have things like plum cots and other different varieties that offer unique flavors. So if you're tired of your same old apple, orange, or banana, you might want to pick up some fruit like the ugly fruit. That's going to have a great taste. Or different kiwis. You know, at 4 for $1, it's hard not to keep these in our diet. Adding a zest of fresh lemon to any meal is going to spice it up and really goes well with our fish dishes. You can walk through your grocery stores and find different fruits of different kinds of apples of different texture, different flavor, and really change your intake. You know, we can really add to our plate, add to our nutrition, and add to our heart health just by trying some different fruits. One of the biggest hurdles is trying to understand how to use all of the different produce in the produce department. You know, one of our handiest tools is this book right here. It's Dr. Richter's Fresh Produce Guide. You know, you can find any produce in this book. It's going to tell you when it's in season and how to judge if this is going to be the best one in the lot. So you know if you need a firm or soft, and it's going to go through all of our greens. It's going to go through onions, peppers. If you wonder which ones are the hot ones, which ones you want to avoid, this is the book you want to refer to. If for some reason your grocery store does not contain this book, go ahead and find your produce department staff. They're always helpful and ready to answer those questions. This book is a perfect reference, so you shouldn't have to worry that you're not getting the best produce that you can find. Always reference your book. I'm ready. A common question of many grocery shoppers is, what is the benefit of the organic foods? They tend to be a little bit higher in price and maybe a little bit harder to find. But what you'll notice is they haven't been grown in any kind of chemicals. So this is going to change the overall health benefit. It does not change the nutritional composition of the foods at all. So it doesn't mean that organic vegetables are healthier than those that are grown in a traditional manner. You're just going to have the elimination of any chemicals that go along with this. If you find this to be important for your family, then organic vegetables are going to be a good investment. If you're comfortable with the vegetables and fruits you're having now, that's all right too. The nutritional value does not change between the two of them. So you know you can find things like any kind of organic greens. We have all of our different kinds of apples, oranges, you name it. This is also where you can find things like tofu, organic or regular as well. And it's a really nice section if you're looking to go to a more holistic and complete diet. We also have a common question between the difference in bagged lettuce and spinach and that's already, that's just on the shelf. Now again, it is an investment if you're going to buy the bagged lettuce and spinach. Remember that these are going to be a little bit more expensive, but if it means that you're going to eat them and not throw most of it away because you didn't take the time to prepare your lettuce, it's a good investment. So if you don't have a lot of extra time but are looking to eat healthy, it might be a good investment for your dollar. Also in this section, we're going to have bulk nuts and other things. Remember, these are going to be a good source of protein. They have our good fats. They don't have the saturated fat, so if you're looking for a healthy snack, nuts are a really great choice. We do recommend the walnuts, pecans, cashews, and almonds, but if you like peanuts, make sure they're unsalted, unroasted, and they'll fit into your diet just as well. Be careful with your portion size with nuts. As we all know, a few extra nuts can add up in the calorie department. You know, many of us pass right by the deli counter, and yet we eat a lot of sandwiches. Make sure you stop and take a look. Oftentimes you're going to find your deli has your turkey, ham, and other shaved meats at a lower price than that of the prepackaged. These are going to be a little bit lower in nitrates and lower in sodium. They aren't going to keep as long in your refrigerator, but that's a good sign. Anything that's kept too long usually is high in salt. Be sure to stop by and take a look. Your cheeses are usually less processed as well, and you can get a greater flavor in less quantity. So if you're looking for great deli meats and cheese, be sure to visit your deli counter and not just stop at the prepackaged foods. You know, our meat department is one of our most important departments. We all need protein, and if we're following a good heart-healthy diet, protein is one of our biggest struggles. Take the time to visit with your butcher and find out what's available. You may notice that we have things like ahi tuna steaks and great salmon fillets. So many of our recipes in the heart of New Ulm are based around these fish. They're going to be high in those omega-3 fatty acids, and you're going to find that you're going to have great flavor. Now when you look at the pricing on these, just $8.99 a pound, this is going to serve 2 people, so we're at a reasonably priced meal. If you were to have salmon in a restaurant, you're going to pay quite a bit more. Take the time to figure out how to prepare these meats. You're going to have great, delicious meals at home, and you're going to have great heart health as well. As we look into our beef and our pork, the heart-healthy diet does not say that we have to avoid these completely, but we do want to make good choices. You can see just here in your butcher's case which ones are going to be the best choices. By taking a look at these sirloin steaks, you're going to see a lot of red coloring, and that's a beautiful cut of meat. These are going to be our leanest cuts, and put next to our New York strips or our ribeyes, you can see that those 2 cuts are going to have a lot more fat. Just take a look and you're going to be able to make a healthy choice. Anytime you're choosing pork or beef, you want to make sure you're choosing those loins or those round steaks. Those are going to be our leanest cuts. Watch your portion size and be sure to enjoy your meal. Other things that are going to be available here too are going to be your cube steaks, which are going to be very lean. You can again see that red coloring. And again, like I mentioned, your round or your loins, this top round roast looks great. That's a very lean cut of meat and would feed your family well. Those same principles are going to follow true here in our pork. Round and loin are the 2 key words that we're looking for. If you look at the chops, they're going to be a little bit higher in fat, but when you're looking at your loins, right over here, you're going to see that nice red coloring, and again, that's going to be an indicator of a nice lean cut of pork. Doesn't mean that we have to keep beef and pork out of our diet. We just want to make good choices and watch our portion sizes. Here's another visual reminder of which one we want to choose. You can see the difference in the lighter color in our ground chuck over that of our 93% lean. You know, oftentimes people will say, well, it's so much more expensive to buy the lean beef. But you know, when you cook these off, you're going to have a tremendous amount more fat in your ground chuck. You're going to have more yield of product in your lean beef. You're going to get more food to serve, and it's going to come out as a wash in the price. So if you can, go ahead and make sure you're choosing that 93% or better in your beef, and you'll have a heart-healthy meal ready to go for your family. Calcium is an essential nutrient in all of our diets. So if you're not able to tolerate milk, our grocers have developed many different opportunities for you to get your calcium, get the flavor of milk without having that harsh cow's milk protein or lactose that maybe you don't tolerate. We have things like pure coconut milk. We have the silk, which is a soy. We also have many different kinds of organic milks. So you can find whatever it is you need. Even our Smart Balance now will have our omega-3s, which are traditionally found in fish. There's really no reason why we shouldn't be able to take in milk. It's essential for our heart health. We need the cortisol, and we want to make sure we're getting 2 to 3 cups per day. Things like almond milk will have a very distinct flavor, so if you don't like the taste of regular milk, give it a try, but we do need that calcium. If you do tolerate milk, we have a great variety in all of our grocers. We want to make sure that we're avoiding our whole milk, which is typically our red caps, and even our blue caps. We want to make sure we try to keep the 2% and the whole on the shelf. Anything from 1% to our fat-free, regardless of the brand, is going to be a good source of calcium. It's going to have those good calories, and it's going to be fat-free. These dairy products do not contain saturated fat as long as you're choosing those fat-free. Again, you want to make sure you're having 2 to 3 cups per day. If for some reason I still haven't talked you into having milk, you can have yogurt as one of your substitutions for your milk cup. It is an easy substitution, and 2 to 3 cups of milk or yogurt will work per day. One of our most confusing departments is always our butter, spreads, margarines, and oils. It's hard to know what is right and what is wrong for good heart health. You know, it used to be that we had the parquet versus the butter. Well, at that time, I think we should have stayed with the butter. That was the creation of trans fats, and we know that those are no longer beneficial for us. But you know, with changing in margarines and butters, we're back to saying that margarines and spreads are a much better option. We can find those that are olive oil or canola oil based, and they're going to help bring up those good cholesterols and down the bad. As I say that, reminder, I am not telling you to add these into your diet, but if you are currently using butter, go ahead and make the switch to some of our canola or olive oil spreads. Another thing that you're going to find coming up that's going to be very popular will be things in our Benecol and our Promise Active. And these are called plant sterols and stanols. These actually compete for space in the bloodstream with cholesterol. So if you're struggling with cholesterol, if you're on the borderline or on the fence between medication and not, this might be a good investment. Remember, plant sterols and stanols is what you're looking for. Anytime you can incorporate those into your diet, you're going to actually do great by your heart health. Those are great sources of it. There are others throughout the grocery store. That's why it's important to always read your food label and find out if your foods have plant sterols and stanols. They're artificially added, and they're always readily and naturally available through our fruits and vegetables. While cheese is a good source of calcium, it's also a good source of saturated fat and high levels of sodium. So it's not something we want to put in our diet too often. There are varieties of low-fat cheese, reduced fat, and fat-free that can be incorporated into your diet in small amounts. Remember, if you have any issues with heart problems or blood pressure, cheese is something that you want to try to cut back on. A good tip would be to try a regular sharp cheddar and cut the amount in half that you would normally use on a regular cheddar. That extra bite and flavor will really add to your dish, and yet you're going to cut down on your total cholesterol, saturated fat, and sodium. Small tips, small changes will make a difference in the end of your grocery shopping. It's recommended that 6 to 11 servings of grains are consumed each day, and half of that is from whole grains. You know, our breads are our greatest source to find those. As we look down the aisle, there's hundreds of different choices for us to make. There's a few things that we want to be sure to meet our criteria. Oftentimes we'll find things that are low calorie, low fat, but what we're looking for is for your package to say 100% whole grain. Then we can be sure that it is definitely what we're looking for. And here's a good example. You know, you can find it in different flavors and kinds, but it has to say that 100% whole grain. A second source of nutrients that we can get from our breads would be our fiber. Many of our breads will be added fiber, and you can even find things such as the Fiber One breads that are going to get half of your daily fiber in just 2 servings of bread and are still whole grain. Remember, we're looking for that 25 to 35 grams of fiber, and it's a lofty goal. So make sure you're finding those extra foods that have fiber involved. Oftentimes we'll grab things right off the shelf that will be just labeled as wheat. If it doesn't say that 100%, we want to make sure we're leaving it there. This would be a good example. Oftentimes kids don't like to have that darker bread. Well, what they've come up with now are things like a whole wheat white. They've left a lot of the nutrients in and made the color of the bread white, and that is a good step up. You know, if you've trained your kids to have white bread and are ready to go to that whole grain, that's a great transition point. But continue to move to that 100% whole wheat. It's when we get the most nutrients, the most benefit, and the most fiber. All things that we're looking for on a heart-healthy diet. Remember, you can even find 100% whole grain buns for those barbecues this summer, and you can find other things such as English muffins and bagels that are 100% whole grain as well. There's no reason why we can't start incorporating them. I often like to say that people will find that whole grain bread tastes different than white bread. It's not that it tastes worse, it just tastes different. It's an acquired taste and something that you need to get used to. You can easily incorporate it into your diet. They're priced almost identical, and they're easily consumed. So always look for 100% whole grain when you're purchasing your breads. You know, frozen vegetables are frozen so quickly out of the field that they do retain most of their nutrients. If you aren't able to get access to fresh vegetables in the winter or other seasons of the year, this is a great substitution. You can incorporate them into your diet quite easily. You know, frozen vegetables are another way to find different vegetables maybe you wouldn't have tried in the past. You can get some great blends that will have your favorite staples, but may throw in some different vegetables as well. Give them a try. This might be an opportunity to find a new favorite vegetable and keep that in your diet as well. These are reasonably priced, high in nutrients, and great for your heart health. You know, every once in a while, we're still going to purchase chips for a special occasion or for a birthday party. But you know, our groceries have made it quite easy for us to make healthy substitution. You're going to find a lot of different varieties of our baked chips. We have baked barbecue, we have sour cheddar and sour cream, we have nacho cheese. So really anything that you would like, you can find in the baked chip. It doesn't mean that we can have endless amounts of these chips, but we can have a small portion and still stay within a heart-healthy diet parameter. If you're going to make that substitution, always be aware of that. Just because it's lower in fat and maybe healthier doesn't give us license to eat more. We want to watch our portion sizes and enjoy our chips, but be mindful of things like dips or beverages that are going with that. As long as we're always making a conscious effort to be good and heart healthy, we're going to see those rewards at the end of the day. And just like with our chips, the same is going to hold true in our crackers. We have a lot of good crackers that can actually provide quite a bit of nutrients. We're looking for those, again, that are going to provide the higher fiber. Things like All Bran are a great choice. You know, even when you're looking at your wheat thins, there's a healthier version than the original. Go ahead and try those healthier versions. Make sure you're watching your portion size and enjoy your chips and crackers. Make sure we're limiting our dips and our beverages to go along with them. But they're a great snack, something you can pack along in your lunch, and you can really increase your fiber for the day. Remember, that goal is 25 to 35 grams per day. Our canned food aisle is usually one of our highest sources of salt. You know, we can find different things that are used for baking and regular soups to eat, our chicken broths, and other spices and herbs as well. You know, this aisle is going to be difficult if you have any issues with blood pressure. There are different techniques that we can use to help reduce that sodium, such as finding those cans that are labeled as such, our healthy requests or those low sodium choices, low sodium chicken broth. All of those are available but still need to be followed in small quantities. Other tips that can be used would be adding additional water to your soups or diluting just a bit. Make sure that if you're using it in a casserole, maybe cut down the quantity and you can spread it out a little bit more and make it heart healthy. You know, we don't have to eliminate these foods from our diet, but we do have to be aware. If we're struggling with blood pressure or fluid retention, soups are difficult for us to fit in. Our total sodium in for the day is really capped at 2,000 milligrams when following a heart healthy diet. If we take a look at soup, we can find in one can that it's just we can have as much as 610, 650 milligrams in just one serving of soup. Remember from our food nutrition reading labels that we want to make sure 2,000 milligrams, and that's going to be in just one serving. If we ate this whole can, we're going to have 1,300 milligrams of sodium. That's going to be too high on a heart-healthy diet. Always read your food labels and make sure you're following our guidelines. Now, another way to take in a healthy meal without taking in a lot of sodium is to give a try to our cereals. Cereals are a great source of our whole grains if we're purchasing the right ones, and we can have a lot of filling, and again, we can increase that fiber. Great source of nutrients as well. The trick to grocery shopping for our cereals is we want to avoid these shelves that are at eye level. These are kind of designated to target kids. You're going to see our higher sugar cereals are going to be available. If we take a look at our upper shelf here, you're going to find things like Fiber One, having 35% of our daily fiber in just one bowl. These are going to be a great source of nutrition. Other things that we're going to want to watch or look for would be our Total, our All Brands, other things that are full of nutrients and are going to be low in sugar. These are great additions to our diet. They're great fillers, maybe an evening snack, and yet they're going to be low in calories, something you can definitely keep involved in your diet. The last stop on our grocery store tour is our grab-and-go coolers. These are often filled with quick meals that we can heat up in our microwave or grab on the go and eat in our car. Remember, it's good for nutrition to eat at our table with our family and with a well-prepared meal. Heart of Home was working to incorporate healthy meals into our grab-and-go coolers, 3-ingredient recipes, and other ideas to help you stay heart healthy, even if you're in a pinch for time. You know, all of these foods are going to be quick and easy, but make sure you're reading the food labels, taking a look at the preparation, and knowing exactly what is involved. There are some healthy options in this cooler, but there are some not so healthy options as well. Take the time, read your food labels, and look at the foods that you're putting into your body. Remember, this is our only go around on the Big Blue Marble, and make yours worthwhile. And that's it for our grocery store tour with the Heart of New Ulm. Thanks for shopping.